for this morning, the session. I understand it is still from now until 9:45, is it? 9:45, correct? Okay. So what we'll do is just give a like summing up talk to about 8:45, and then have a break to 9:15 because people don't need to go to the toilet, and then we come back from 9:15 to 9:45 for the loving kindness meditation and the final blessing. So at these retreats sometimes people ask, can you teach deep and teach Four Noble Truths, dependent origination? And others have said, well, what's that got to do with the fake world outside? And how can we find this balance here so that we can come here, we can understand more about the teachings of the Buddha, and at the same time they can be relevant to our daily lives. And hopefully you've found that at this retreat so far there has been some of each. There's been some deeper teachings for those who've meditated and been exposed to Buddhism for a long time, resolving hopefully some doubts. At the same time, just encouraging everyone to actually to become better human beings. Less pushy, in other words, to lessen your will, less frustrated, more peaceful, more in touch with your body, more in touch even with other people, to being sensitive towards one another. And that's where the noble silence, just not talking so much. I know it has not been perfect silence, it never can be, but you've done very well. And it just, when you are not speaking to somebody, it means you are listening. And you're not just listening to the sounds of people talking, you're also listening to your own body, you're listening to the world outside. And I often think that, or perceive, that much of the fact that we make mistakes is because we don't listen enough. Don't listen enough not to teachings from a monk or a nun or some expert, but not listening to the teachings inside of us and the teachings of the world outside. And it seems, even, the French philosopher Louis Pascal, he once said that all the troubles of, he called it mankind, that means all the problems of humankind, come from the not knowing how to sit still, just to be quiet for a while. So even though you think, oh, this is just deep Dhamma, or this is all about religion, Buddhism, whatever, it's most important is we learn how to keep still and silent, so that there we can both rest, which we all need, though we can re-energize. And then I'll often notice that when people are tired or sick, they do tend to become grumpy and cranky. It's just the nature of our body. And that's one of the reasons why it's usually not a good idea to talk to your partner in the early morning until they've had their first cup of coffee or something like that. So in other words, they're energized and they're much more reasonable. But understanding how our body works and how our mind works, it's not just to get deep meditation, it's to learn how to live in this world and to avoid many of the problems. So there was one of those sayings, just short sayings, which when I first heard it I liked so much that I put on the front of the first book which I wrote, The Opening the Door of Your Heart. And that was the saying, to grant yourself a moment of peace. And then one will realize how foolishly one has scurried about. Learn to be silent. And you'll notice you've talked too much. And learn to be kind. And then you'll understand your judgments of others were far too harsh, far too severe. Very simple. And it all starts with to give oneself, grant oneself, give yourself a gift of moments of peace. Because you cannot accept that peace just to be there for you unless you grab it and you give yourself moments of peace. Many of you had to juggle many things and arrange many things just to be able to come here and to get a few days of peace where you weren't running around and having to do stuff. It's difficult to find peace in this world, and you can't sort of buy it in a shop. So the only way to get peace is to give yourself the opportunity to say, I need this is important, and you take it. And of course, just giving yourself that moment of peace is not being selfish. Many times people feel, oh, you could be doing something in this world, but we do need a lot of peace to realize what we can do, what we're supposed to do, what's effective to be done. But when we are just so tired, we become, as they say, part of the problem. Everybody helping one another, but no one actually receiving any help. Always looking for someone else to give and to serve. But sometimes we're just peaceful and kind, and we stop. And then we can see what is really worthwhile, what needs to be done. So just by giving yourself that moment of peace, it's a great blessing for all the people who you'll meet when you leave this place. What I usually say, all the people who have to put up with you, they will benefit from the fact that you've been peaceful for the last few days. And all those lovely anecdotes of that gentleman years ago who always wanted to go on the weekend retreats and his wife would never let him because weekends were busy. You know, you have to look after the kids, you have to do the shopping, you have to fix up this and fix up that. There's so much to be done on the weekend. What do you think? That's being selfish? Of course you can't go. And this was a very wise person. You don't keep arguing, you just keep suggesting. Persistence. I know I shouldn't say this, but sometimes you say, oh, can you come to, say, Indonesia for something? Can you come to Dublin for something? And I said, no, it's just too far. And it's just, I can't find the time. And you just, shh. And the next time, can you come to Dublin? No, it's too far. And you keep persisting. Because you can say no many, many times. You only say yes once. And you've won. So he was persistent. Every time there's a weekend retreat, can I go? Can I go? Can I go? And all these excuses and no reasons why, of course you can't go. And then what happened, he told me, that, he said, well, retreat on this weekend, can I go? And his wife was just so frustrated with his persistence that she answered, okay, you go and do your silly meditation retreat, and leave me with the kids and the washing and all the there. You just go. And he took that as a yes. So off he went. It was close enough. And so, but what happened, for those of you who haven't known the story, that when he came back from his retreat, he was such a peaceful, kind, sensitive, gentle husband that she was so impressed with the change in him that when it came time for the next weekend retreat, that he didn't need to ask. She gave him the money and sent him off. Because it was in her interest that he go. Because he was more peaceful, easier to deal with. And it's the same with this mother who there's 2 or 3 mothers have told me this. This particular mother went to the Armadale group, and she's told after I gave her the Armadale session, when it finished, she said, I could speak to you for a few moments because I think you'll enjoy this. She said that when she came home from work, her kids said, Mummy, are you going to meditation tonight? To which she said, no, I'm too tired. Mummy, I think you should go to meditation tonight. Why? Look, I just want to put my feet up. I've been working all day. Mummy, go to meditation tonight. Why? Because you're a much nicer mummy after you come back from meditation. And those are the wisdom of kids. They know that by giving yourself some calm, some quiet, some peace, that you'll become a nicer, better, easier person to live with. Which is one of the reasons why that it's worthwhile to grant yourself a moment of peace. So that you can understand just scurrying about, rushing around, doing this, making that. We have to do all those things, and I'm as busy as anybody. But there comes a time when you just do have to stop and do some meditation. And by meditation, I don't mean getting into jhanas. I mean be able just to sit and relax and be still and not going anywhere. Just be here. To give yourself peace. And hopefully that you've understood, I've really emphasized that on this meditation retreat, jhanas is not another thing you have to achieve. Otherwise, that sometimes that people come to these places and they go in this course and this thing to learn and that skill to develop, and it's just another one of those. And sometimes we don't know, why can't we just come somewhere and do something, not for achieving anything, to do something for no purpose, except just to be. So sometimes that when we can come here and just be here, relax to the max, and just notice just how peaceful and how relaxed you can become. Not trying to solve any problems, not trying to get rid of difficulties, not trying to do anything. Because that's more of the same in the world. It's not granting yourself moments of peace. It's giving yourself more things to do in this world, more things to achieve, and most likely more things to fail at and feel frustrated and guilty, but to confirm your understanding that you're not good enough. Another thing I failed at. Ugh. So don't try that. In fact, there is no such thing as failure in my book. I can't resist some of my favourite anecdotes. And that was this was when I was a school teacher. And at the end of the year, I had to give out the report cards. And there was one kid in a class of 30 who came bottom. 30th in a class of 30. What does that mean? Does it mean anything? It could have been 30 Albert Einsteins, in that class, all geniuses. And some of them would have to come 30th at bottom. But anyway, when I gave out the report card, you could see this young man, he must be about 13 or 14, and this is, you can see him get depressed, all the physical signs of depression and lack of energy were just right there. It's just his shoulders slumped, he looked down. And you can understand why. If ever you come bottom of the class or close to the bottom, in school, your friends can be so cruel to you. Always picking on you. Dummy, stupid. I bet you can't even spell stupid, can you? So whatever. This poor kid was getting depressed. And so I went up to him. Now, first of all the kids in that school knew I was a Buddhist. It was a grammar school, a high school, and it was the custom in those days that the teachers would have to take 1 week of morning assembly. And most of it was like religious, Christian, but I asked the principal, I'm a Buddhist, do you mind if I teach them meditation? He said, oh, good idea. So it was in 1973. 1973, I taught 650 children, boys, girls, from 11 to 17, 18, Anapanasati. So I introduced meditation in schools a long time ago. That was really good fun. But anyway, they all complied. So they knew I was a Buddhist. So when this kid, he became sort of depressed, I went up to him and said, I'm not going to teach you some Buddhism. And it was the idea of the Bodhisattva. And I said a Bodhisattva is someone who sacrifices their own happiness so that other people won't have to suffer. And that's you, isn't it? You deliberately, on purpose, took the bottom position this year in the class, so your friends, the people you care about, will not have to suffer what you're going to get from your parents tonight. You've willingly taken on that humiliating position just so your friends don't have to. That's what we call a bodhisattva, I said to him. Now you can remember just, as a teacher, you're standing up and the kid is in the chair next to the desk looking up at you. And he looked up at me and said, who is this teacher who's been teaching me for the past year? No wonder I come bottom of the class. He's crazy, he's bad. And I said to him, I continued, I said, look, you're a bodhisattva, sacrificing your own happiness. I know you did this on purpose, and as soon as we're finished here, I am going to go to the principal's office, and I'm going to put forward your name to propose that you become the Bodhisattva of the Year award in this school. Wouldn't it be a wonderful thing to have a Bodhisattva of the Year award for this meditation retreat? The person who hasn't meditated at all, slammed all the doors, who's talked a lot, been on a mobile phone, eaten in the evening, hardly ever been here. So you're the worst meditator here. And you've willingly taken that position, just so no one else has to suffer. Any nominations for Bodhisattva? So they started laughing, and it just broke that depression, that disappointment, which is fueled by the need to succeed and the inability someone has to come bottom. I did actually mention to him one of the most important parts of that Bodhisattva prize. You're only allowed to have the Bodhisattva prize once in the career at school or once in Jhana growth. So next year, please let somebody else take that prize. And you get up and keep quiet. But what it was doing, it was like granting yourself some peace, not needing to achieve, and being kind. And not realizing your judgment of others was far too harsh. And others means also yourself. Judging yourself, that's just a really stupid thing to do. No, I judged you again, calling you stupid. So hard, isn't it, to get out of judging and ranking people. But you do find that when you're kind, it's just like, I often had a little image once of how can you explain these things to people. And I imagine this spacecraft coming down and visiting a primary school. They say, primary school in Singapore. And the aliens come in, and without them being noticed, they have a look at the school. Now it's a primary school, grade school, grade 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5 and 6 or whatever. And they have a look there. And they take notes. And they go away. And 10 years later, they come back again. And they see these little kids in grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they report back, said, they haven't improved at all. Those little kids we saw in grade 1, and we see them in grade 1 again, they're still doing the same thing. They're still doing the naughty things. People in grade 6, they're still doing the same. Because they haven't seen that people actually go through the system. That people, I come here and people are just the same old questions, the same old difficulties. That's why And people keep saying, why do you keep telling the same old stories? Because you keep asking the same questions. It's fair. It's sometimes the same old people, year after year after year. But no, when you don't judge and you're kind, then you're realizing that you don't have... This is a big thing. Stop trying to improve and achieve and get stuff. Instead, be kind. And be kind to all the difficulties and problems and idiosyncrasies and weirdness in your life. When you're kind, life is so much easy. Well, why do you need to so quit? Well, I don't know why people do stuff. So I don't know why I do stuff sometimes. Do stupid things. But, you are just kind and forgiving. And that makes life so much more peaceful. One of the most important things, which I hope you learn here, is learn to be silent. And you realize you talk too much. We do talk too much. Now, I have to talk. I'd rather not, but that's my job. If I just sat here and was silent, I get in big trouble. I wanted to avoid trouble. I keep my mouth moving. But it is wonderful just to be silent. I don't mean just not talking, but not even thinking. And to be a listener. And it's wonderful to come here, and you're not asked for your opinion. You're not asked to write an essay or make a decision. You just listen. Just listen to the birds. Listen to the hum of, I suppose it's electricity. You just listen to the wind. You become a listener, a feeler, a seer. In the scene, just the scene. Not adding to it. Not thinking, not judging. As best you possibly can. The very least, you tend to get this wonderful sense of peace and stillness. And it's not as if that somebody's telling you what to believe. It's not like you're listening to a sermon which you have to accept or not accept. You're just here, aware, listening, feeling. You're cold, you're hot, you've got an illness, or you're really healthy, you're sleepy or you're wide awake. Whatever it is, you're alive. And you're experiencing. You're not adding to it with judgments and thoughts. What's actually happening is you're not judging anything. Be kind, and your judgment of others was so severe. When you're silent, you find you can't judge at all. And that was, of course, that anecdote of this scientist, Lord Kelvin. To be able to control nature, he once wrote. In other words, in order to have technology, to be able to control the temperature, to control the amount of light or heat we have in this room, to be able to sort of have a microwave which can just warm up my baked beans just the right amount without having them explode. But in order to have all of that, we need to know how to measure nature accurately. And of course from that we get looking at it the other way around. That if we learn not to measure, then we can't control anything. You have to let things be. You can't measure your sadness or your happiness. You can't measure how deep your meditation is or how shallow it is. You stop measuring. What happens next? You let go. You have to. There's nothing else you can do. You can't control anything. That's one of the reasons why when we're listening, we're not judging, which means we're not measuring, which means we're not controlling at all. The only thing we can do is to let things be. And there was the beginning of the poem of the third Zen patriarch, which I thought was really cool, even before I was decided which type of Buddhism I wanted to join. And that was, the path is easy for one who has no preferences, one who doesn't judge, one who doesn't compare. The path is simple. Very simple. You just get peaceful. You get blissed out. You get awake. Because all that judging is what causes us the busyness. So this is one of the reasons why, when you are silent, you have the opportunity to see things in a totally different way. To see things in a way which is not against logic, but which sees logic from a different angle. Sees things in a way which creates deep peace, which creates meaning, which creates happiness. And you all know, what is it like to be judged? When somebody looks at you and just either praises you or blames you, they don't know what they're talking about. In my life, I've been praised for many, many things which I don't deserve. And I have been, what was that? I'll have to be quick. No measuring, come on, stop measuring. In Thailand, I was 5 years as a monk, I was in a bus, and it was true that many of those old buses had burst into flames. And people had actually died. They got caught in the bus because the buses were not maintained at all. And there's a whole spate of this. And even one of my friends, another monk, he was in one of those buses, and it burst into flames. He managed to escape, but his bowl got incinerated. So actually the bus company actually supplied it with a new bowl. And so it was dangerous. So there I was in the front of a bus. I always put the monks in the front of the bus. You know why they put them in the front of the bus? Because when we're in the front of the bus, if that bus driver hits anything, the monks in the front will protect you. Our good karma means all the people in the back will be protected. And that's one of the reasons why when going in these buses, they would give you, didn't need to pay any money, go in the front because that was their insurance. And I remember going on this one bus, it was on this new highway from Chonburi up into Bangkok, and my goodness, they put me in the front, right in the front, the window was just up here, the bus driver was even further back, with the wheel. I was really in the front. And as soon as I got on, he said, "Oh no, don't need a ticket." You can go in the front there. Because there was a movie. There was a movie on the TV, which is not supposed to be for the passengers. But now, because I was in the front, he could watch the movie as well. And that was scary. Because all these trucks would come in the opposite directions. He was watching the movie. But, it must be I do have some good karma because I survived. But anyway, and that was actually well known in Thailand. You put the monks in the front, which means that you're safe. So on one occasion, I was in economy class on Bangkok Airlines or something, or Thai Airways. And I said, that if you put the monks in the front, it actually protects you from collisions in the front. No, they said. It was a nice try, though. But anyway, now where was I with this one? Oh yeah, in the front of the bus, and I was just in the front. And there wasn't going that fast, but then somebody screamed in the back, "Fire! Fire!" And all the people, they rushed out. The driver, he just opened the side window and went out the window. Honestly, he did. And there was a monk sitting next to me. I was by the window seat. There was a monk sitting next to me. And you know that in Thailand we're not supposed to come into physical contact with any women. This monk, he was out straight away, brushing past all sorts of people. And they never stop him and say, "Oh, Nimon Krap, you go first." No, it's everyone for themselves. That's true. So I was just sitting there by the window. What's going on? I don't know what's going on. I was sitting there quite peacefully, and everybody went out, rushed out, "Fire, fire!" And I was just sitting there quite happy. And then there's two people left in the bus, me at the front seat and by the window, and there's one guy in the back, and he was looking, oh, it's only a cigarette butt. So he stamped it out. It's only a cigarette butt, it's not a real fire. Then everybody came in the bus, and of course they had to come past me. And everyone, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So lucky to see in our huts. And it's not that, I was just stupid, I didn't know what was going on. That was a nice moment when I got praised for something I totally didn't deserve. But anyhow, that sometimes you are criticised for something you didn't do. So that's just life. So we don't judge. And I've been criticised enough times for something which I didn't do, and praised for things that I didn't do. Same as you. So why do you accept praise and criticism? Accept at this time that it's a time we actually show some gratitude as well, because it's coming to the end of this retreat. And we have all those wonderful times we mean, like the peacefulness here, the kindness here. And it's really a great, great privilege. Have the good karma to come here, be fed, be safe, be taught, be kind, and receive kindness. This beautiful location, great weather, so peaceful here. Everything is just amazing. And so, you feel this wonderful gratitude for all the people who organise this, as they do every year. And people like in the BSWA who organise all those bookings. People like, Leha, and people like Burr, who runs around making sure everything's okay. And that Bodhisattva, not because she fails, but because she's really inspiring Bianca. She doesn't get paid for this. And how many retreats does she do a year here? She spends more time here than I do, because she cooks for Ajahn Brahmali's retreat and stuff. It's amazing. She just gives. And if you go in her presence and just feel her energy, why? She's giving, serving, helping. That's why you get this beautiful energy and happiness and joy. Somewhere you can actually feel it, the purity of a person who just goes out there just to give. And all the people who bring the food. How many people have brought food? And they don't get paid either. They take their day off to come here and feed you. Sometimes you think, feed the monks, that's merit. Feed the nuns, that's good karma. But feed you? I've never seen that in the Buddhist teachings. But they do with such happiness and joy. And you can see there's something there which really challenges us and makes us just feel so soft that you're cared for. And people do this. And just all of the what else is here? All the people who built this place over the years, cleaned it, looked after it. So, we have this wonderful sense of, and it's not just the teachers here. It's, it's not just myself, it's Venerable Nisara, just, giving those afternoons, just so she can teach a bit of meditation, and the other nuns as well, supporting. Sometimes people say, they don't need to teach anything. Even the monks who sit next to me or something, they don't need to teach, just to see them there. Just to see a peaceful person. It's inspirational. And of course, you've seen nuns for centuries, but see nuns, now that's really amazing. Real ones. And so it brings a lot of joy and inspiration when you come here. It's the way the whole thing works. And that's one of the reasons why it's not just our meditation. It's just not my learning and peace and overcoming difficulties. It's much bigger than that. Beautiful giving and sharing and appreciating. And of course at this time, just the forgiveness and gratitude. They all go together. So in other words, we say anything which we've done by body, speech or mind, intentional or unintentional, which may have hurt, disappointed, upset. We don't judge, we forgive. We let it go. All those bad jokes. And all the times I really tried to upgrade the joke and you still groaned, or all those silly sadhus. All those things which just make it sort of unique, a bit crazy, but nevertheless, which make it human, beautiful, kind. We ask forgiveness of one another. And anything, body, speech or mind, we let go. Of the bad stuff. And the good stuff, which we call gratitude, we always keep that. Grateful for our friends in this path, people we sat next to, and maybe don't even know their names. People we've sat opposite on the dining tables. We see that they didn't have enough, say, jam, so you brought them some jam. Or the little kind things. Those little acts of kindness are just so wonderful, so amazing. They're the ones. They had one of the toughest monks in Jhana chart in those early days. His name was actually Ananda. He was a US Marine. Before he was a US Marine, he actually volunteered. He was a street kid in the city of Buffalo in upper New York State. And he said that he'd go around with bike chains, motorbike chains, playing for keeps. He was a hoodlum. And he joined the US Marines to get tougher. And he got shot in the back of the head in a firefight in Vietnam. Airlifted out, lucky to survive. But in the field hospital, they said his injuries are so bad that he will not be able to see again. And he resolved, and I have no doubt he would have done that once the bandages were off, once he was able, he would kill himself. But when the bandages were taken off, he could see. He said it was amazing. Oh, he was the one. I haven't actually mentioned this story for a long time, but it's a great story. He thought he was perfectly okay until he was playing baseball, as young Americans do. And the batsman hit the ball high in the air in his direction, an easy catch. So he followed it to catch it in his hands. But then, as he was following it, the ball disappeared. It vanished. And then it came back again. And he realized he had a blind spot in his vision. And that's the first time he could actually notice it. Because what had happened, the blind spot, it wasn't like a blackness there. It was like his mind, his brain had actually filled in the details of what was supposed to be there, what he assumed would be there. And he couldn't even see there was a hole there. It's only when something unexpected, a ball was traveling up in the air, and that part of his vision, and his brain forgot to figure out the trajectory, so it just disappeared. There's interesting parts about blind spots. We just don't know they're there. We can't know they're there. That's what they're called, blind spots. Until we can assume, infer, that we didn't see that. And that's so good, similarly, for delusion or ignorance. We just don't know it's there until somehow or other a ball or something goes to the air and, hey, it's not supposed to disappear, and it appears on the other side. Anyway, he eventually became a monk, really a tough guy. And, being a US Marine, I remember once we did some chanting, and before we do Pirit chanting, sometimes we do the invitation for the heavenly beings to listen to the chanting. And it's the one chant in the austere Theravada tradition which we do musically. I think it was something like Paritawa Sameta Sametang Badanta. We're not really supposed to do it sort of musically. Anyway, I can't do it musically anyway, even though I tried. But I gave it a shot. But he did it so music, so beautiful. And he really put a lot of effort into it. And afterwards, the other monks say, you're not supposed to do it like that, do it just the ordinary way. That was terrible, that was awful. And all the monks criticized him. And he felt just so down. And I came by, Ajahn Brahm, just the way I've always been. And I said to him quietly, if I was a heavenly being, I would have come. And that was it. He was my friend for life now. And just one little act of kindness, a small one, it would just changed him. And his attitude towards me was just, it's nice having a really strong protector like that. He would stand up to anybody. Oh, good old Ajahn. Anyway, that was a long time. But there's acts of kindness. It just means so much. So this is, just how we look at one another on this retreat. You've done many acts of kindness towards one another. And that's a beautiful thing. It just inspires you. It's a wonderful world, a happy world. So you come here and you get inspired, uplifted, peaceful. You learn so much. And we have these wonderful acts of gratitude. We see just how other people can be such great examples to us. And so just know we give this gratitude to all the people, uncountable beings, who've made this retreat possible. From, the list is, you see the prominent ones, the caretakers, little Christina who makes, or Christina or Scotty, who actually turn on the just little things, make sure the videos are working. All these people who just come and make sure that I've got my necklace on because the first one didn't work. So you have all this wonderful gratitude. So I now ask you to think of all these people who made this, and you're included in this. The nuns, the monks, the Buddhist Society of West Australia, the people who run the internet and all this sort of stuff, and everyone who made it possible for you to be here. Some big sadhus to them. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So thanks so much for making this possible. Okay, so now we can have a toilet break, and then if you'd like to come back and we do just a guided meditation and a blessing at the end, and a sharing of merits too at the end. So a little bit of toilet break. That's not that bad. 8:57. So try if you can go back by 15 or 20 minutes. If you don't really need to go to the toilet, it's only finish off at 8:45 anyway. So if you can hang out, good. It's called restraint.